Hello and welcome to our fourth of five in the Trauma-informed Caregiving mini series. Today we're going to be talking about what's next, following up and keeping the good groove going. As always, we'll talk about where does this fit, how might it help, and the skills involved. So the what today is learning together about increasing effective behavior, together, collaboratively. When do we use these skills? Well, after challenging behavior occurs and everyone is regulated enough to be able to talk things through. So we don't apply these problem solving skills while we're still upset. We might need to take a break. We might come back to this later in the day, the next day. We don't want to let too much time go by, but we sometimes need to let a little time go by so that we can come back to that conversation. Why? Well, showing, caring, and teaching skillful behavior. So when we follow up with care and lead with care and curiosity and a collaborative spirit, that shows that we care about that person and we want them to be able to be successful. The skills that we're going to cover today: I still love you, problem solving together, and move on and catch them being good. So, the I still love you skill. I may be angry, frustrated, disappointed, confused, fill in the blank. I may be frustrated that you broke that vase. Why can't I think of an example? That vase. And I still love you. And now we're going to problem solve together. So we want to start with co-regulation. Like I said, we can't go into problem solving mode if we're not regulated. So all of the things we talked about in our last video, we want to work on some of those things, get to a regulated place. And then we're going to validate and state our intention. We're going to get curious together and explore the problem. We're going to get into problem solving mode, and we're going to check to make sure we're all in agreement, that we all understand that we're using the same language here. So use those co-regulation skills like HALT, those healthy distraction, those breathing exercises we talked about in the last video, so that we can be ready to have this process happen. Then let's validate and state why we're here. So I'm glad you're here and that we can talk about this. I'm really excited about making a plan to help you be more successful next time. Or maybe this isn't about being in trouble. Oftentimes people feel like they're in trouble, they're being punished. This isn't about being in trouble. This is about learning from the disagreement we had so that next time we disagree on something, things can be a little bit smoother. So getting curious together. Let's talk together. We may have very different perspectives, and that's okay. From your perspective, what happened? Can I share from my perspective what happened? So we can kind of compare notes. It isn't about one person being right or wrong. It's just exploring what the situation was, and even better, what led up to the problem. So if we can think about this as a chain, so the problem behavior is here, we're farther down the train, we co-regulated together, and now we're starting to explore what can happen better next time. If we can look back at all of those other parts of the chain, that's going to help us figure out how to do it different next time. It's a way for us to learn from that situation. So getting curious what led up to the problem, this can be a way to explore it. So what led up to it? Well, you know what? I didn't sleep very well last night. I was up too late. Maybe that's why you tell me to go to bed on time, right? So we can start exploring that. Or I didn't have enough to eat. I was hungry. I came home from school and I needed a snack and didn't realize it before I was yelling at my kid sister, right? Maybe I didn't know or understand the expectations. And that can be an area for us as the caregiver to think about, where are we being clear and where have we maybe made some assumptions about what we thought they understood the rules were. And sometimes you just didn't want to follow the rules. And that's okay too. That's valid, right? Like sometimes when we're mad, we just do whatever. So thinking this through so that we can do it differently next time, maybe. Maybe we had a bad day at school or a bad day at home or a bad something, right? Maybe somebody said something or we had a thought or a bad dream. So, what are the things that might have led up to not being at our best and causing an issue? As we get through figuring out kind of what led up to it, let's now start thinking about, well, what needs to change? How can we do it differently next time? And what do you think needs to happen next? So, this is a really important piece. As we think about structure and nurture, we want to co regulate and be able to get to this place where we can bring in caring, nurturance, and structure by talking about like what are the consequences of a behavior. We want to try to rely on natural consequences as much as we can. A natural consequence just being the things that happen when a choice is made. So, for example, a natural consequence of being mean to somebody is they might not want to be your friend. And that's a pretty powerful consequence, more powerful than one that's kind of random and made up. Like, well, you were mean to someone, so you have to write 500 times, I won't be mean. Well, that's an annoying consequence, but does it connect with the actual behavior? Not really. So, when we can rely on natural consequences, all the better. This is one that I love doing. Now, for younger kids, you might have to talk them through. But I'm really surprised how often even young elementary school kids can talk through like what needs to happen to make it better. They can maybe generate like, I need to apologize to that person. And you can talk through like, what does that look like? Do you write them a note? Do you talk to them? And how do you show them that you're sorry? So it gives lots of opportunity for them to identify what they think appropriate consequences are. And I can't tell you how many times, especially kids, have given themselves much harsher consequences than I might have as the adult in the caregiving situation. So, talking through with them, this is the piece that is what helps with the next time. So, the next time you come from home from school and you're upset or you're hungry, what might we be able to do differently? And what do you think needs to happen now? Because you were really mean to your kid's sister when you came home. How can you make that up to her? Always want to then circle back and make sure, like, okay, what are we gonna do? Do we agree? Who else might be able to help with this? Is there somebody that you can rely on or talk to? Is there a friend? Is there another parent or caregiver that we could pull in that can help you remember to do this the next time? And my favorite is always anything else you'd like to say. You never know what people are going to say, and opening that door, you might generate a really important point that you didn't even realize needed to be a part of the conversation. As always, want to bring that caring and nurturance. Thank you for talking this through with me. So, this was structure, and you brought your nurturance, your caring to this conversation. Once we've had that conversation, let's move on. Let's not stay in this cycle of being frustrated. The behavior might come back. You may have to do this process again many times. That is part of caregiving. But we don't want to be holding on to resentment around a behavior that we didn't like. We really want to try to honor, like, okay, let's try it again. And we'll keep trying as long as we need to. And if you feel like you've tried enough times and it's not changing, really great time to start talking to other caregivers or maybe talking to a school counselor or to a medical provider. Calling in some additional resources could be a really helpful thing if you're finding, okay, we're rinsing and repeating way too much. Okay, I have a kitten who needed to join us for this conversation apparently. You also want to then choose a new activity. And if possible, if that could be an activity you do together, can be a nice way to repair and demonstrate, I still love you. You might have frustrated me, angered me, disappointed me. I still love you. Let's move on to something that we can do that's fun together. And it might even just be a small thing, putting your feet in the grass and looking at the clouds for a minute, or cooking dinner together, preparing the snack, right? Something you can do together. And as always, this is also a foundational skill and a setting the stage skill. Look for and praise the behaviors you want more of, especially if there were some things that came out of this conversation. The second you notice those good behaviors, the behaviors that we want them to be practicing more, trying to reinforce those. So it's so great to see you getting along with your sister. I love seeing you be kind to other people. You're being so patient right now. So any way that we can give the love and reinforcement for that. So when are we using these skills? After challenging behavior occurs and we're all co-regulated, ready to have the convo. Why? So that we can show that we care and that we increase those effective behaviors. And the what? Separating the behavior from the person. So I love you. I don't love the behavior so much. So we're going to work on the behavior because I love you. Collaborative problem solving and then moving on. So reflecting on the skills. I still love you. What do you love most about the person you're caring for? Can you remind yourself of that so that in the moments that they're harder to remember, you can bring that to mind? What do you love about them? Why do you bother to do the hard conversations and intervene over and over again? And could you share that with them? That might feel good for both of you to remember, why do you love each other? Problem solving together. So how about you adapt that problem solving plan, so that process that we talked about to your needs as a caregiver. It's a plan that can work really well, especially with middle school, high school, and adults. It may need some adapting for those youngers, and it's still a process that you can use. What are the adaptations that might be really helpful for you, and who can maybe help you think that through? That might be a great conversation with other caregivers that you know, or with some of those other supports like a teacher or school counselor or a counselor or therapist. The moving on and catching and being good reflection. So, what's an example of growth that you have seen in someone you care for? Can you give them that shout out? Even if it's not that recent, but you're just like, I remember that you used to really have a hard time saying what you meant when you were upset. And I've really seen you make progress on that. And I was thinking about how proud I am of you. That can feel really good. So, as always, a reminder, ask for help and lean on support when you need it. These can be your informal supports like other caregivers you know, family, friends, and neighbors, or more formal supports. As you know, we have a local mobile crisis response, and there's a national line that can be used from any phone anywhere in the United States, any time of the day or night. You can reach a trained and caring individual. Thank you for today. Remember, you've got this. And our next video is talking about what happens when you lose your cool. How do you prepare for that? Part of the caregiving. Can't wait to see you. Thanks.